G'day battlers, and today we have a brand new meta to look into, this time coming straight from Niantic itself, and it is going to be coming in with Go Battle League Season 2. So not straight away, because first we're going to get Great League for 3 weeks, then Ultra League for 3 weeks, and then in comes the Premier Cup. So you can still do Master League battles as normal, so you can kind of just pretend the Premier Cup doesn't exist, but if you want to participate in the Premier Cup, it is going to be running at the same time as the Master League. So what is the Premier Cup? So as it says here in the announcement, the Premier Cup is going to be just like Master League, except you can't use legendaries or mythicals. So that takes out a massive chunk of the Master League meta. So I know my team that I've been using in Master League has 2 legendaries in it, so I'm going to need to power up some more Pokemon, see what's going on. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit more fun. It's going to have a bit more variety going on. You're not going to get stomped by a level 41 Dialga all the time. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit more open. So we'll jump into the meta, but if you don't mind, go down and hit the like and subscribe button, because that does help at the channel. But yeah, jumping onto the meta now, and this is kind of what we've got going on. It is still a bit complicated, because that's just the virtue of Master League. Master League is pretty complicated on its own. There's just a lot of Pokemon going around. So yeah, we'll start in the top right, top left, sorry, with the anti-Metagrosses. That's basically their role, because Metagross is such a force to be reckoned with in the Master League, and especially once you take out all the legendaries, Metagross is massive. So you're going to need to be able to counter Metagross. So you can do that with either the counter users, so the fighters there with Escavalier and Machamp, and then you could also do it with Swampert, who has Earthquake, and then Garchomp is going to have some other Earth damage. Could also lower his defense. But the interesting thing about Escavalier is Escavalier you probably never saw in Master League before now, but he recently got his moves buffed, so like Drill Run is a better move, and he's just, you're going to see him a lot more now. But if you want to learn more about the buffs and debuffs, I'll link the Niantic post in the description below, so you can go check that out. The electric types are also the big benefactor of that, but we'll get into that a little later. So yeah, these guys' role is to beat down Metagross, but they're also able to take out the ice types in the bottom left, that Glaceon and Mamoswine, and then also take out the electric types, as we mentioned before, hanging around with Electivire and Magnezone. But we will get into them later. So they're going to be losing to the Charmers, that Togekiss and Gardevoir down the bottom there. Basically, they're just able to overpower them. Obviously, Garchomp has the dark type, the dragon typing, so he's going to be losing pretty hard, but they're also just able to beat down the fighters and also swamp it. So yeah, moving along to the Metagross, he is definitely the guy to beat. You're going to be seeing a lot of him in the Premier Cup, and he's able to beat down the ice types, able to beat down the Charmers, and also able to beat down the dragons in the bottom right. So that's like the dragon breath users, which is why they're separate from Garchomp. But yeah, he beats down a whole chunk of this meta, and you're going to be seeing all of these sorts of things going around. All of the things that Metagross beats are kind of there to counter other things. So he's kind of like the counter, and he's going to be on so many teams, seriously. So what beats Metagross? We've obviously got the anti-Metagross teams in the top left, and then it's also going to be losing to Snorlax. Definitely loses with Earthquake, I think. Metagross obviously isn't going to like the superpowers coming from Snorlax either. But then also he's actually going to be losing to the electric types. So the electric types basically got a wild charge buff. So wild charge does more damage, it costs less energy, so you get to it faster, but it just reduces your defense when you use it. So it's kind of like a massive nuke move, which can definitely do a whole lot of damage if it goes through. So they're actually able to beat down Metagross now, and yeah, that's kind of Metagross in the cup. Moving right along the top with Snorlax. Snorlax just able to beat down Metagross, as we said before, also able to come out on top of the Charmers, so the Togekiss and the Gardevoir, and then it's going to be losing to the Dragon types in the bottom right there. Now, anywhere you don't have an arrow between 2 groups on this meta, it kind of means that the matchups are back and forth. So you'll notice there's no arrow between Snorlax and the anti-Steels. That's because the fighting types are going to be able to beat down Snorlax, whereas Snorlax is going to be able to beat the other one, so the Swampert and the Garchomp. And that's just kind of the situation here. But yeah, moving it right along down, actually we'll go back to the bottom left, so back to the ice types, going to be losing to the anti-Steels and the Metagross, as we went over before. What these guys are going to be able to do is beat down the Charmers, especially that Togekiss, because Togekiss with that flying typing is just going to die so quick to the ice. And then they're also able to beat down the electric types, which I wasn't expecting, but turns out they can. And then I also thought that they would be able to beat down the dragon types, no worries, but turns out that is not the case. It's kind of back and forth there, which is again why there's no arrow. But yeah, kind of look into your own Pokemon, see if you want to use one of these Pokemon or the other. The benefit of Glaceon is that it has Icy Wind, which is going to debuff your opponent's attack, which kind of Articuno does, but Articuno obviously not eligible in this cup. So moving on to the Charmers. Charmers going to be able to take out the anti-Steels, going to lose to the Ice types, lose to Metagross. lose to Snorlax, as we said before. So what can it do? So yeah, it can beat the anti-steals, and then it also is able to beat down the dragons in the far right. So not super relevant in this cup, like when you compare it to the current Master League. So with Dialga not being around, they're basically not as important, especially when they can't beat down the Metagross. So yeah, I'm not thinking that you're going to see too many Charmers, but they're definitely still a really good option, and you're going to see some of them around anyway. So moving on to the electric types, as I said before, Wild Charge got buffed. You could say debuffed in a way, but I think the defense drop is definitely worth it for the massive attack and energy savings. So they're able to take down Metagross, take down the Charmers, and then also take down the dragons in that bottom right. Purely just because they've got the flying type going on. Gyarados is also water, so definitely not going to appreciate the electric types. And yeah, we've already gone over what it loses to. They lose to the anti-steals in that top left, because that ground and the fighting damage just comes through pretty hard. So then the last group on this meta, we've got the dragons in the bottom right. We've gone through all the matchups already, but they beat Snorlax, and that's kind of the main thing that they can do. They're kind of just neutral damage. So you'll see that there's a lot of groups that they don't have arrows to. That's kind of just because the fact that Dragon Breath is such a high damaging move, and they're also kind of glassy, means that they can do a lot of general neutral damage, but they don't necessarily win out all of the matchups. So you might be able to like switch into one of the dragon types and then come out on top against some of the other Pokemon. So like maybe with an energy advantage, you can get to like a big outrage before someone else can, and just nuke them to pieces. So that's kind of why, yeah, there's not as many arrows, but they are going to be losing to the Metagrosses, going to lose to the electric types, and then lose to the Charmers. Charmers being the obviously hard counter. But yeah, that is the Premier Cup kind of simplified here. Obviously, there's still a lot of specific matchups going on that aren't really pictured here, but this is kind of to give you a snapshot, give you an idea of what's going on, give you an idea of what sort of Pokemon you kind of want to be having ready for the Premier Cup. I'm definitely going to be giving Premier Cup a go as opposed to just straight Master League, because it definitely seems like it's going to have more variety. So yeah, with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. Thank you to my patrons, who I actually have to thank a brand new patron here. So Yahwertle recently joined the Patreon crew. Don't really have a name for the Patreon group, but the thanks to slide, I guess. But yeah, on top of Yahwertle, who joins the absolute legends here, thank you to Militum9458, brajSF, Negative Van 10, and Not Randy Newman, all of you for supporting the channel, and I will see you in the next video tomorrow, which will be Forest Cup battles, which I'm actually like recording like immediately after this one, so I will see you then.